But I can tell you, keep going. Never give in, whatever trials and tribulations you come to in your life. Don't give in, don't let anybody put you off. Keep fighting for what you believe in and what's right, and eventually you will be rewarded. It might take a day, it might take a month, it might take 5 years, but keep going. Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you clicked on this video. It's a beautiful day outside, the sun is shining, and after watching the news recently over the last few days, it's been so depressing. Your heart's broken watching the images in Ukraine of the fighting, women and children being bombed and killed, and it's so depressing. But on Wednesday night, there was a fantastic piece of news that came to my attention. And it was the homecoming of a lady called Nazarene Sagari Ratcliffe. And she came back to the UK after being held captive in Iran for 6 years, away from her husband, her daughter, her family. She was held there on stupid charges of spying, which were all trumped up. It wasn't true at all. This family were held apart for 6 years. And it just made me realise that people like that will get mentioned on the news, which is fantastic. But people such as myself, who was just an ordinary person, me and my wife had a similar story where we were kept apart for 2 years. And I have mentioned them in the vlog before. I have some videos about that if you'd like to look back on those, about romance in Manila. But it just made me realise how important family are, how that being together and how being apart can really traumatise you and affect your life. And I just wanted to share my experience about that because it brought so many memories back after seeing Nazim being reunited with her family, which is wonderful. So just let me tell you my story also. Yeah, I was involved in a similar situation with my wife Eva, whereas I was back home in the UK and he was incarcerated in the Philippines. And it was all because that a fraudulent lawyer had done a bad document. It was a birth certificate that he'd forged, but we'd asked for a proper one in good faith and he'd not done the correct thing. And the Home Office wouldn't allow my wife to come back to live with me in the UK. And this went on for nearly 2 years. So you can imagine how the trauma, the heartache that builds up inside you. And I was watching a programme where servicemen had been away from the families. They'd been on a tour of duty and they'd been away for 6 months. And then the reunion when they came back was absolutely wonderful. So you can imagine how we'd been kept apart for 6 months, then it went to 12 months, 18 months. And by that time, you're really, really getting desperate. It plays on your mind, it affects your health. You're physically separated from someone you love. You can't be with them. And it's not your fault. It's circumstances beyond your control. You keep petitioning and you keep doing things. But when you're just a lowly member of the public, you don't get that news publicity that other couples have had. And you feel you're on your own and it's a desperate situation. Yes, 6 months is a long time. But when it starts to get into years, 2 years, it really does start to affect you. And I really remember one morning in particular, I'd gone to work and it was a Monday morning. It was bleak, dreary winter morning, and I went into work. Anyway, I got onto my emails, checked my computer, and there was a message. There was an email from my wife in Manila. So I hurriedly clicked on that one and opened it. And it was the most wonderful news that we'd been waiting for. And I can still remember the details of the email. I'll share them with you. Yeah, I'll read that for you now. It says, "Dearest darling Anthony, last Thursday, the most wonderful thing has happened to me. The British Embassy, who had been keeping my passport, said they were going to send my passport back to my home with a courier, and I had to pay for it. But when I got the passport, I opened the package, and inside was a visa saying, 'Can be admitted now to the UK.' She said, I'll never forget that feeling. It was like I'd won the lottery. And she said her mum, who was a very quiet person, very thoughtful, she just looked at her and smiled softly and said, Eva, I told you, never give up. Keep going right to the end, because if you keep going, keep praying, God will provide. So, dear Anthony, I was beside myself, honestly. I was over the top of the moon, and I will be in your arms very soon. And I had to laugh because she'd misquoted that famous saying. I was like jumping over the moon, but it all added to the day, and it made me feel wonderful again. And I went through that day walking on air. What a fabulous feeling. Really, really special. I'll never forget that. It was wonderful. Yeah, so when I arrived home that evening, I went onto the airline website and I managed to get a flight for Eve. I paid for the flight, sent the details to Eve, telling her, you know, you can come as soon as in a couple of weeks. She was going to be here, coming back to the UK. And yeah, we were just so ecstatic. We talked on the phone, and you can imagine the joy and the wonderful things that we said to each other. And when I put the phone down, though, I did think about the things that the British Embassy had kept from us. You know, they wouldn't, after we got married, we couldn't have a honeymoon. She was kept there. I came back to England. The birthdays that you miss, the celebrations of being with family, the christenings in other members of the family get-togethers, all the different things that you miss because people are keeping you apart and it's not your fault, and it really hurts. I can imagine what Nazanin and her family were going through. There was also another gentleman on that flight as well who had been kept for 5 years under stupid false charges. And you have to sometimes experience these things to really know what the pain and the trauma is, because when you say, oh, we've been kept apart for 6 months or we've been kept apart for 2 years, it just trips off the tongue. But if you sit down and think about it, 24 hours is a long time. To be apart for 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, it's absolutely, it's mind-blowing. It really, really preys on your mental feelings. You know, it really gives you that stress, and it's really disgusting. But we were over that now. She was going to be coming on her way back, and I can just remember that feeling of elation that you just can't describe. It's just so uplifting, and you do feel like you won the lottery. Wonderful again. Yes, so on Wednesday, October the 10th, and that was in 2010, I made my way to Manchester Airport, and I arrived in the arrivals area, and I waited for my loved one to arrive. I was feeling all sorts of different emotions. I remember sitting down and scrolling through my phone, looking at the messages, people wishing us well, saying, you deserve to be together, you deserve it, you've suffered all this time, and really uplifting. But it's a funny thing, your stomach is doing cartwheels, and it really does make you, you're anxious, you're happy. It's hard to put into words, but you know, you've seen the pictures of people at airports meeting loved ones, you know, people who've been away on holiday and coming back. And yeah, so until you're in that situation, until it's happening to you, it's really, really hard to describe and to emit those emotions. So it's just a very special feeling. Yeah, your mind is racing, your senses are alive, and the one thing is, though, it gets harder for you to hold yourself together, because you know that person who you love is going to come through those doors, you know, and you're going to be with them again, and it's really emotional. It really is. And I kept looking at my watch and pacing up and down, and you can imagine the scene. It's really, really heart tugging on your heartstrings. Yeah. So around about 8:30 in the morning, the plane had landed, and the passengers from Eve's flight were starting to come through the doors. There were like 2 double doors where they were coming through. And as you can imagine, there was a large crowd gathered, waiting, some with placards and welcome home and all the different things. And yeah, I was really starting to sweat at this time. I was really really anxious, and the people were coming through, and I'm thinking, I'm looking for Eve through the crowd. Where is she? Is she coming through? Kept looking, and people kept on coming through, and no, she wasn't there. And I thought, I wonder, is Eve the last one off the plane? Yeah, so I stood there, I'm waiting, I'm getting nervous, and the volume of passengers started to decrease. They were coming through at a steady pace, and then it got less and less and less, till there was nobody coming through. And I'd scoured everybody on from the passengers. Eva wasn't there. So I'm stood looking at the doors, which had closed now, and Eva wasn't there. My heart sank. I just didn't know what to do. Yeah, I couldn't understand what had happened. I thought, did Eva actually make the flight? I'm sure she said she'd got to the airport in Manila. So I just didn't know what to do. But my hopes and my aspirations were deflating. It was like bursting a balloon. I just stood looking at the doors, thinking, where is she? What's happened to her? Yeah, I was just about to go and make some inquiries when I saw the doors open, and then Eva came through. She had a white suit on, and she just like angelic. It was wonderful. There she was, dressed in white, the love of my life. I was absolutely elated. Couldn't control my feelings, so I ran towards her, and then she ran towards me, and we hugged each other, we embraced. It was absolutely magical. I know you've seen the movies where people run together and you think it's corny and it's all staged, but when it happens to you and it's really heartfelt and meant, it's a wonderful thing. It's a magical moment, and nothing can ever repeat it. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, we came together in a passionate embrace, and we both hugged each other tighter and tighter. And then we were spellbound. We were overcome with emotion. There was tears. It was just absolutely wonderful. We couldn't speak. We stood there shoulder to shoulder, hugging for about, it seemed forever, probably about 5 minutes, but 5 minutes like that in such a strong, tight embrace. It's just a moment, and it's captured in time, and you never forget it. The world around you stands still. You're just in your own special, magical moment, your own bubble, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the best things that happened to me in my life, and I'll never forget that moment, ever forget it. Yes, so when we came back down to earth, so to speak, from that magical moment and embrace, I said to Eve, I said, I can't drive just yet. I said, we have to go and speak. Let's go to the cafeteria, get something to eat, and just, I mean, what do you say after 2 years? It's, you have so much to say, but you can't say it. Your mind's whirring, your head's not thinking straight. So we went for an hour's catch up in the cafeteria. But I did say to Eve, I remember saying to her, why did it take you so long to come through? Why were you the last person off from the plane, and why did everybody else come through and you still left, you know, on your own type of thing? And she said, it's because the authorities once again had taken me to one side, interrogated me once again. They'd asked me lots of different questions. Who's meeting you? You know, looking at all the documents. All sorts of stupid questions. And she said, look, we've done everything right. I've got the documents. How many more hoops do we have to jump through for you people? You've kept us apart 2 years. It's stamped here. I've got the full visa. I need to go now and see my husband. And they let her go. So, yeah. Thinking about, you know, our situation, thinking about what Nazanin Radcliffe had to go through. People don't realise until you've been through it yourself what these things hurt. It's all right seeing it on the news, and it's okay to witness things, but until you've actually experienced these hurtful things in your life, you don't realise what people have to go through. But I can tell you, keep going. Never give in, whatever trials and tribulations you come to in your life. Don't give in, don't let anybody put you off. Keep fighting for what you believe in and what's right, and eventually you will be rewarded. It might take a day, it might take a month, it might take 5 years, but keep going. We certainly did. We've had a fantastic life since Eve came back in October 2010. We're so happy, and it's just a fantastic thing. Keep going, don't give in. And just to think about the people in Ukraine, they won't give in, they'll keep fighting to the end, and eventually they will overcome as well. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that story. My next video, I'll be outside once again into the countryside and finding something that is really good to look at and uplifting. So please like and subscribe to the channel Life with Pops. It's been great to see you this morning, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care and God bless. Bye bye.